of telling this story because Bill is a very practical thinker. He's very open-minded, but he is very objective, practical, reality-oriented thinker. And he wanted to test the book. And he was looking at his mailing list at the time, and he was using the I love you, please forgive me, thank you, and I'm sorry. And he could spell it out a little bit more if you don't mind. Is that okay, Bill, since you're on the spot?
Joe, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. If you will do me a favor, I'll explain later. If you give me just a few minutes, I'll be glad to tell a story for you in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
I'll
no
explain
problem.
a little bit. It makes
I'm sorry
sense
to put you on the spot. He can fill it in. Let me tell you the real quick version of the story is that he did read the manuscript to Zero Limits. He did see how simple this was. It was a matter of saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, to whatever was going on in your life. He wanted to test it on a practical level, so he was thinking of his mailing list. He does internet marketing like me. Like I say, we've co-authored a book called Meet and Grow Rich. And he was thinking of his mailing list. And so as he's thinking of his mailing list, he's just saying, he's got the awareness of his list, the people on his list. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. Now, without doing any other marketing, without sending out a sales letter, without sending out a news release, without tweaking a website, without doing anything else, all he was doing was cleaning. He had 41% more sales from his email list when he didn't even mail him anything. Is that not powerful, overwhelming evidence? And yes, let's go over there, and maybe Bill can check in and fill me in there.
I just want to witness for a moment. I'm not being paid to say this. The first time I met you was in Austin when Chopra came.
Oh, yes.
And I heard the words, and I started using them. And I'm in a transitory. I just retired, now I'm retiring again. And I kept saying the words. And then I read the book, and I was up all night reading the book. I fell asleep for a couple hours, and I called your office and spoke to Suzanne and said, don't ask me why, but I need to be there. Now, I could not afford to come to Maui. Suzanne said, okay. And I said, save a seat for me. I have to find a ticket on an airline and a hotel. And the whole thing worked. And it worked in like 2 or 3 hours. And then the money just came. And then I thought to myself, I teach for Austin Community College GED. I teach ex-offenders. I teach the flotsam and jetsam of the human race. I said, wow, I need to bring this book into class. So I brought it into class. And for the last 2 weeks, I don't even want to tell you how many miracles have happened, but I want to share one with you because it is so incredible. Ex-offender, really bad stuff, but I love them all. He told me he had to go to court to try to get visitation of his 2 little boys. And he said, I don't have a snowball's chance in Hades. And I said, yes, you do. I love you. And I had taught the whole class. And these are adults who are trying to get a GED. And half of them can't read and half of them can't speak English. So I worked with him, and the whole class worked with him. It became a project. This, as a teacher, the word dirtbag, if anybody else in the room is a teacher, you've all had these people in your classes. We worked with him. He went to court last Thursday morning wearing a rented suit, he borrowed it from his brother. He shaved, no lawyer. His ex-wife had a lawyer with a mouth on her. He went to court, and the judge got to the point where she said to the lawyer, cool it. I want to hear what this man has to say. He just spoke from his heart. When he walked in my door on Thursday night, I knew he had won. The whole class knew it. But it gets even better. He saw me, and he lifted a box of papers onto my walker. And I went outside, and I'm thinking, how are you going to get this box into your car? And I was trying to think how I was going to get the box into my car. And I got to my car, and there was nobody else outside, and I'm thinking, okay, find the strength. And here comes a car. I said to him, it was the same guy. I said, what are you doing here? He said, well, I got halfway out the gate, halfway down the block when I realized there's no way she's going to be able to put that box in her car. So I turned around to come back to put the box in the car for you.
Wow.
This just keeps going. I mean, I could go on for another hour about all the things that have happened. The one last thing is I have a little cousin who was 5 when I saw her. She's 38. She has 2 little boys of her own, and they live on Kona. So 2 weeks ago, I called her and said, I'm coming to Maui. Do you live anywhere near Maui? She said, well, it's a plane flight. It's this, it's that. I said, hang in there. Don't make any plans. The money materialized. They're with me here this weekend. I have not seen her in 33 years.
Well, they're here in the room?
They're here in the hotel. I got them a car, and they're visiting. We were at breakfast. We caused a problem at breakfast. We were celebrating Hanukkah, singing Hanukkah songs and playing with dreidels and things at the breakfast table. I wanted to give them a little gelt so they didn't have to bug their parents. But, I mean, this stuff is just so powerful on so many levels. One last thing. I don't have any knees. I mean, physically I have knees, but they don't operate. They don't work after a bad accident. Since I got here, and I had to get the cart because last night I thought I was going to just disintegrate, I've been speaking specifically to my knees. And I want to tell you, it works. Thank you. I love you.
You're doing it. You're doing it. Give yourself an applause. Bill, do you want to add to my story, or did I cover it? Okay. Any other questions, comments? Oh, Bruce.
I've got a question. I want this answered by you and Ihaliakala at some point. When I listen to Ihaliakala talk about cleaning and what it really means, how it affects all of us, how the sick grandson is sick in all of us, I think if I could be aware or touch it just once in a while, that awareness that they all live in me, why would I ever stop cleaning? And the challenge I find is I'm a typical human. I have a lazy mind. I don't think about that. There's nothing to remind me of that. And so I don't feel the responsibility, even if I intellectually know it. And I want to know if there's a way for me to remind myself of the responsibility that I have to the entire universe, or however that's framed.
Do you want to take that, or do you want me to? I'm sorry. He wasn't listening. You know, one of the things that I used to do, because I've heard so many people that are positive thinkers would do this, is that they remove all negative influences from their room. Mark Victor Hansen, for example, Jack Canfield, they don't allow the TV to be on, they don't allow newspapers to be on, they don't allow negativity, they don't allow gossip, no complaints, anything. I love that. I admire that. It's an idealistic way of being, and I think, boy, you are in a protective bubble when you do that. What an energy field that must be. Then I asked Dr. Hulin one time when he was in Wimberley, and we were walking and visiting, and I said, do you ever watch the news? He says, oh, yes, all the time. And I said, what are you watching? And he says, I watch the worst stuff that's on TV. You know, I watch about the war, I watch about hunger, and I go, why are you watching that? Because it reminds me to clean. He invites it. Now, I am not quite at that level, and Narissa will tell you that she likes to watch. I'm walking down the steps from my office, click, 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 she turns it to something else, because she knows I don't really want to see that. But that's a way that he's reminding himself, and that might be a way to remind you. Would you like to come up and add something?
You want to tell them about your plane being late?
My plane being late? One of the stories he likes is that I had gone to a seminar that he was teaching in California, and he actually took me to the airport, and everything was going smooth. Not only was there was no security line, there were no problems, anything like that. I just walk right through security, go right through the gate, I go right to my plane, and I sit down, and I'm thinking, wow, this is fantastic. I've been cleaning all weekend. My closet's been rearranged. There's nothing going on at the airport. My flight is right there on time. No problem at all until I see that the flight is delayed. And I think, no problem, I just cleaned. I just keep cleaning. And I have a book. Of course, I always have a book. I'm reading the book. I finish the book. Plane's still delayed. And I think, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Just keep cleaning. And I get the inspiration to do some writing. And I didn't have a computer. I wasn't traveling with one at that time. I do now. And I went and bought a yellow pad, and came back, and I started writing. Plane was delayed for 9 hours, and I sat there and wrote a large part of Zero Limits in that airport. There were people all around me that were screaming. There was one person who was red-faced angry, like they were going to somehow pull a plane out of the sky just for her, you know, and wheel it over. Here you go. Here's your ride. Sorry for the delay. But no, that didn't happen. So they just stayed angry. You know, some people were just kind of grinding their teeth and very impatient. Some people read. They just went with the flow. Some people tried to get another flight. I was totally fine to be in the moment, and I took it like the divine, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to say was the inspirational source, was saying, you're writing this book. Again, I'm not creating, I'm just agreeing. You're writing this book. Here's a great opportunity for you to write for about 9 hours with no interruption and fresh after doing a weekend workshop. And that chapter is in the book. I don't remember which chapter it is, but that chapter I drafted, it ended up in the book. And this was an example of, I didn't complain with the moment. I didn't argue with the moment. I went with the flow. I kept cleaning, and I ended up with something that was pretty wonderful.